Hey everybody, welcome to the 6th grade podcast. This is Miss Brown. I'm here with Mr. Gornto and Miss Canario. And we are going to talk to you about cow eyeballs and parts of the eye today to get you prepared for our cow eyeball dissection. So we're going to talk about a couple of the main basics parts of the eye. We're going to start with the cornea. So the cornea is the transparent curvature of the sclera. So if we go back to that, you can see the curvature of the eye right there. That part is the cornea. All right, so next we're going to talk about the aqueous fluid. The aqueous fluid is a watery fluid between the cornea and the lens. So if the cornea is here, that curvature, and then the lens is this portion here. So everything in between here is the aqueous fluid. All right, next is the iris. Now the iris is probably one of the parts that you all know. The iris is the disc that gives the eye its color. So when you're looking at someone's eye and you see the color, that's what you're looking at. You're looking at the iris. The iris is this brown part right through here that gives the eye its color. So the last thing is the pupil. The pupil is the opening in the center of the eye that allows light to pass through. So looking at the diagram, the pupil is just simply a hole in the eye here. Now what the iris does, the iris will open and then close, allowing more or less light to go through.
Now we're going to talk about the lens. The lens is a transparent structure that focuses light on the inner back side of the eye. The lens is right in here, just behind the aqueous fluid. The light's going to enter through the lens and then go towards the back. Now right behind the lens is the vitreous fluid. The vitreous fluid, it's kind of jelly-like. It's a clear jelly-like fluid that keeps the eye shape. Without this fluid, the eye would kind of look a little deflated. And it is all through this whole area in here. Next is the retina. It is at the back of the eye. It's a thin membrane that is the light-sensing part of the eye. This is where the rods and cones are going to be found. And the retina is going to be all across, you'll see it all across the back of the eye. Then you have the optic nerve. This is what's going to send the image to the brain. That sends it all the information that the eye's brought in and sends it to the brain. And then finally you have this white part on the outside of the eye called the sclera. It's the outer layer. It's the white part of the eye. This is, if you look at somebody's eye, it's kind of like the skin of the eyeball. This is the part that if you see the whites of somebody's eyes, that's the sclera.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about how all of these parts work together to allow your eye to see. So first off, let's go into rods and cones a little bit deeper. These are the cells that make up the retina. So the rods are for peripheral vision. That's the vision like out from the side of your eyes, not what you're focusing on, but the other stuff. It's what detects motion, and it helps us to see in the dark. It doesn't really allow us to see colors well. Okay. On the other hand, you have cones, and cones are located closer to the optic nerve part of the retina, and they are what allow you to detect color and detail. Now, looking at what happens in the order of the way that light moves through these things to allow you to see. So first, there's light and it reflects off of an object. So it bounces off an object, and the light that bounces off the object kind of comes back to your eye. Okay, so that light enters into the cornea. We have the cornea is highlighted blue here. Okay. So then once the light goes to the cornea, it's going to pass through the pupil and the lens. Remember, this is your iris right here. So your iris is going to change shape depending on how much light your eye needs to let in and out. So it's going to change the size of your pupil, which is right here. And then the light is going to go through your lens. Your lens can also change shape, or does also change shape, to help you to focus and see an object more clearly. Alright, so then once the light goes through the cornea, through the pupil, through the lens, it's going to go through the vitreous liquid, which we have as yellow here, and then the light itself is actually going to hit the back of the eye, which is the retina, which we have colored purple here. Okay? At that point, the retina is going to use the rods and cones to understand the image, and it's going to change the light into electricity. and change what the cones and rods interpreted into electrical impulses that get sent, like every other nerve travels with or allows information to send through electrical impulses. The optic nerve will change that information that came, or take that information that the retina changed, send it to the optic nerve, and the optic nerve will take it all the way to your brain, and then your brain will interpret the image that you have seen. Okay, so just a really quick visual of all the parts and where they belong. And then lastly, just one more thing to talk about. You've probably talked about this or heard this before, and this is true of camera lenses as well. But the lens in your eye, because of the way it's curved, actually takes the rays of light and it causes them to flip upside down. So like we said, when the light comes through here, the image that's projected onto your retina, if you can see it here, is actually upside down from what is really happening in real life. So what happens is that image gets sent to your brain upside down, and then your brain has to reinterpret and flip that image up for you to be able to see it the right way. Alright, so those are the basics of the eye. You need to know the parts, you need to know where the parts are, and you need to know how the light moves through those parts. Please watch this video as many times as you need to be able to understand those key concepts.